Hello, Michael here, looking at Psalms 88 for our devotion, the psalm which may be subtitled, I cry out day and night before you. And we're focusing on verse 6 and 7 for the exposition today. Let's go ahead and read those two verses. Verse 6, Thou hast laid me in the lowest pit, in the darkness, in the deeps. And verse 7, Thy wrath lieth hard upon me, and thou hast afflicted me with all thy waves. Selah. And as we turn to the treasure of David for the exposition, let's go ahead and read verse 6 again. Thou hast laid me in the lowest pit, in darkness, in the deeps. And Spurgeon exposits. Thou hast laid me in the lowest pit, in darkness, in the deeps. What a collection of forcible metaphors, each one expressive of the utmost grief. He-Man compared his forlorn condition to an imprisonment in a subterranean dungeon, to confinement in the realms of the dead, and to a plunge into the abyss. None of the similes are strained. The mind can descend far lower than the body, for there are bottomless pits. The flesh can bear only a certain number of wounds and no more, but the soul can bleed in 10,000 ways and die over and over again each hour. It is grievous to the good man to see the Lord whom he loves laying in the sepulchre of despondency, piling nightshade upon him, putting out all his candles, and heaping over him solid masses of sorrow. Evil from so good a hand seems evil indeed, and yet if faith could but be allowed to speak, she would remind the depressed spirit that it is better to fall into the hand of the Lord than into the hands of man. And moreover, she would tell the despondent heart that God can never place a Joseph in a pit without drawing him up again to fill a throne, that he never caused the horror of great darkness to fall upon an Abraham without revealing his covenant to him, and never cast even a Jonah into the deeps without preparing the means to land him safely on dry land. Alas, when on the deep depression the mind forgets all this and is only conscious of its unutterable misery, the man sees the lion but not the honey in its carcass. He feels the thorns but he cannot smell the roses which adorn them. He who now freely expounds these words knows within himself more than he would care to dare to tell of the abyss of inward anguish. He has sailed round the Cape of Storms and drifted along by the dreary headlands of despair. He has groaned out with one of old, My bones are pierced in me in the night season, and my sinews take no rest. I go mourning without sun. Terrors are turned upon me, that pursue my soul as the wind. Those who know this bitterness by experience will sympathize, but from others it would be idle to expect pity, nor would their pity be worth the having it if it could be obtained. It is an unspeakable consolation when our Lord Jesus knows this experience, right well having, with the exception of the sin of it, felt it all and more than all in Gethsemane, when he was exceeding sorrowful, even unto death. And verse 7 that reads, Thy wrath lieth hard upon me, and thou hast afflicted me with all thy waves. Selah. Thy wrath lieth hard upon me. Dreadful plight this, the worst in which a man can be found. Wrath is heavy in itself. God's wrath is crushing beyond conception, and when the press is hard, the soul is oppressed indeed. The wrath of God is the very hell of hell, and when it weighs upon the conscience, a man feels a torment such as only that of damned spirits can exceed. joy or peace, or even numbness of indifference. There can be none to one who is loaded with this most tremendous of burdens. And thou hast afflicted me with all thy waves, or all thy breakers. He pictures God's wrath as breaking over him like those waves of the sea which swell and rage and dash with fury upon the shore. How could his frail Baruch hope to survive those cruel breakers? White like the hungry teeth of death, seas of affliction seemed to rush in upon him with all the force of omnipotence. He felt himself to be oppressed and afflicted, like Israel in Egypt, when they cried by reason of their afflictions. It appeared impossible for him to suffer more. He had exhausted the methods of adversity and endured all its waves. So have we imagined, and yet it is not really quite so bad. The worst case might be the worst. There are alleviations to every woe. God has other and more terrible waves, which, if he chose to let them forth, would sweep us into the infernal abyss, whence hope has long since been banished. Selah. There was need to rest. Above the breakers the swimmer lifts his head and looks around him, breathing for a moment until the next wave comes. Even lamentation must have its pauses. Nights are broken up into watches, and even so mourning has its intervals. Such sorrowful music is a great strain, both on voices and instruments, and it is well to give the singers the relief of silence for a while. Yes. Trust you enjoy the meditation, the exposition on Psalms 88, verse 6 and 7. Michael here declaring yet again, Jesus is Lord. And until next time, be